Worry lines can run deep. With increasing commodity prices, higher price volatility, and rising input costs, America's farmers rely on crop insurance to protect their crops and livestock. Crop insurance, providing peace of mind now and for the next generation of agriculture.
Congressman Huelskamp, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
What got you interested in running for the United States Congress from the big 1st District in Kansas?
Well, a lot of reasons. I have served a number of years in the state legislature, and when then Congressman Jerry Moran said he's running for U.S. Senate, I looked for a way to fill those big shoes and stepped up and ran. And but I have a long history in state level politics. But I'll also get asked what's my first political moment, and I do remember it was the 1980 grain embargo. I remember what happened. I was 11 years old at the time and saw what happened at the elevator based on what happened in Washington. That actually was my first political awareness, and since then I believe in selling things from Kansas. And in real life, that's what I do. I farm and ranch for a living with an extended family, and I like to take that type of rural understanding to Washington.
And your background has been political science. You have a degree in that. And I understand that you sort of specialize in agriculture, government agriculture committees. I quipped to someone earlier, maybe you ought to be teaching class at Longworth 1300.
Well, I'm about teaching anything. So I did go to school and then decided I want to go back home and join the farm. You can take the kid off the farm, but it's hard to take the farm out of the kids. So once I got done with school and Lord lives back home, wife and I moved back and got involved in the farm then, raised our family in a small town and still do. And it made a lot of sense to go back in rural America, which is the life I love.
Tell us about your farming operation.
It is an operation. It's multi-generational, dad and brother. Given the current situation, my brother's the largest part of the operation. Dad's starting to slow down a little bit. Hasn't retired, but it involves raising a lot of corn, wheat, milo, soybeans. We used to raise a lot of cattle, and we kind of backed off that side of it. And but your typical western Kansas farm, a lot of acres and a lot of folks involved. But it's tremendous what folks outside of rural America don't understand. The tremendous growth in technology. It is just stupefying. It's amazing what we can produce when we had all these people working when we were little, keeping all the kids busy doing all these things with their technology. The amazing things we can do. How quickly, for instance, across America, you go to work, we can plant a corn crop in about a week, which is amazing with the new technology and new size of equipment. And for folks that think agriculture is kind of backwards, where you haven't done things, the greatest technological growth in recent years has just been in agriculture. It's fascinating and exciting, and quite honored to be representing that in Washington.
And what do you think your constituents sent you up here to do, if you had to list top 2 or 3 issues?
Top 2 or 3, I'd say top 1 is change the way Washington works, or in their mind doesn't work. On every front, they look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to produce things. They're trying to, raise their families. They're trying to, create jobs, and then look up here and see Washington standing in the way, and then carrying this huge debt load, this out of control spending, out of control regulation, out of control debt load, and frankly, it worries them. They're very conservative, and I've seen a change as well. I was at a town hall in Hutchinson, Kansas. Had about 100 folks showed up, and I said, "Who in this room thinks the next generation will be better off than their generation?" And I was the only person in the room that held up their hand. I'm still very optimistic. We're going to solve these problems, but there's enormous debt load, and most Americans, they really get it in the 1st District. They do understand that Washington's been doing too much. We can't afford that anymore. And so I'd say, long answer, short question, this is what you got to take on. We expect you to be different. We don't want you to be part of the problem. We want you to go to change Washington, not be changed by Washington. And that's what's so important, going home every weekend, going out. It's pretty hard to lose touch with rural America when you're out there in a small town every weekend when you're home.
Given your background in farming and the fact that your 2 immediate predecessors, Roberts and Moran, were both senior members of the House Agriculture Committee, was it a no-brainer that securing a seat on that committee would be a top priority for you?
Well, we made that top priority, but as Chairman Frank Lucas said, he thought someone had been on the committee from the 1st District of Kansas since the Civil War. You don't argue with the chairman, but Senator Roberts actually has the potential to actually be the first man in American history to be the chairman of a committee in both houses. And that probably is very possible. But yeah, some big shoes to fill, but everybody has different views on where we want to head. But what's happening in agriculture is now is we produce things, we want to sell them, and there's some exciting things happening, particularly on the free trade agreements. that will mean, particularly for Kansas, we're going to sell things that Kansans make and produce, whether it's wheat, whether it's pork, whether it's beef, and that's going to be basically what's going to come out of these free trade agreements. So there's a lot of exciting things happening, and particularly in agriculture, because the best growing sector right now, maybe this is a reflection on everything else, is agriculture. So many exciting things. And I'm seeing in rural America that 10 years ago, when I started serving in the legislature, a few years before that, you never heard stories of folks coming back when they graduated from high school unless they were going to plug right back into family business. Now things aren't as bright in the big cities, and I see in small towns I have to say, hey, we got this family came back, this young person came back, they went away to college, working somewhere else, says, hey, I'm going to come back and be an entrepreneur. Whether it's in agriculture directly or indirectly, most of it's surrounding agriculture. That's the present and future of most of the first district, and there's some very exciting things happening in agriculture.
And finally, tell us something about Tim Huelskamp that's not in the official biography. What makes you tick? What do you do for fun when you want to get away from business?
Well, I've got four kids, and ages 15, 14, 9, and 4. And I like to hunt, and my 9-year-old had his first shotgun at age 7, so we go out and hunt pheasants together. And the 4-year-old kind of tags along. He now gets to carry his BB gun to go out and hunt, so that's what we do. But that's not abnormal. That's a way of life in rural America. But enjoy doing that, and that's a lot about what we're about in rural America, just going out, enjoying family, enjoying our environment, enjoying nature, and doing that in a way. That's one thing people forget about agriculture. There's not a farmer I've found that wants to harm the environment. And the story, it's a message we continue to take, say, hey, we are the first environmentalists, and that's what agriculture is, and we do it in some tremendous, amazing ways.
Kansas 1st District Congressman Tim Huelskamp, Representative Huelskamp, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you.